Welcome to the Houdini Engine, a new initiative by SideFX Software which makes Houdini technology accessible to a whole new group of artists, animators, and game developers. The Houdini Engine is a compact API which extracts Houdini's core technologies into a powerful procedural engine for film and game studios to integrate into proprietary applications and level editors. At the same time, SideFX is developing experimental plugins for popular DCC apps such as Autodesk Maya and the Unity game engine. To better understand what this all means, let's take a step back and look at Houdini itself. Houdini is known for its node-based procedural workflow, which makes it easier to explore, create, and refine as you work in 3D. Each node represents a step in your creative process, while networks of nodes represent a procedural flow of data. In Houdini, artists build these nodes and networks as they work interactively in the viewport, and the networks themselves can be adjusted and rewired as needed to modify the results. This node-based workflow provides artists with a roadmap of all their creative decisions. And by going procedural, it becomes easier to make changes, produce multiple iterations, and share work with colleagues. In Houdini, a procedural approach is applied to all aspects, including modeling, animation, particles, and dynamics. This is why Houdini has played such a big role in feature film visual effects, and why it is now being used for other areas such as lighting, animation, and environment modeling for games. One feature that has played a key role in the success of Houdini artists and studios is the Houdini Digital Asset. Digital assets make it possible to take your networks and encapsulate them into a single node. You can then promote parameters to the wrapper node and publish the results to disk for other artists to use. All of this can be accomplished using interactive manipulation by your artists, who can build a wide range of custom tools without ever scripting or programming. Houdini Digital Assets have become a go-to pipeline tool for sharing assets across shots and even across projects. For the wider Houdini community, artists can upload, share, and even sell assets at orbolt.com. This online resource brings together the collective wisdom of the community and helps new Houdini artists quickly learn what is possible. The one problem with this approach is that only Houdini artists can benefit from the power of digital assets. Other digital content creation apps are left out, and interoperability is left to other formats which bake out the procedural nature of the assets. If only the assets could be shared with your colleagues using these other DCC apps. This would bring the power of Houdini's procedural networks to more artists and unify workflows across the pipeline. Enter the Houdini Engine. With this initiative, SideFX has extracted Houdini's core libraries and built an easy-to-code API for connecting to other applications. The assets can be loaded into these applications, where artists can then set parameters to customize the output. The engine then cooks the asset, and the results previously only available to Houdini artists are delivered to the host application. With the engine, we have essentially turned Houdini into the world's most powerful plugin for any number of DCC apps. Since all of Houdini's tools can be wrapped up into digital assets, all of these tools are available to the host applications. The Houdini Engine is available today as an enterprise solution for film and game studios looking to bring Houdini into their pipeline. It can also be used by third-party companies looking to incorporate Houdini technology into other applications, even applications not traditionally known for digital content creation. If you're interested in understanding more about this game-changing technology, contact your account rep at SideFX or email us at houdini_engine@sidefx.com. In addition to the API, the Houdini Engine is being used to create two experimental plugins for Autodesk Maya and the Unity game engine. Now artists can experience the benefits of the engine without working with the API code. These plugins are currently in development and will be available for testing at labs.sidefx.com in the coming months. These plugins create a new level of interoperability which brings the procedural power and flexibility of Houdini to a whole new community of artists. Now I would like to take you through the creation of a simple digital asset which combines some modeling and dynamics, and then show you how that asset looks in both Unity and Maya. If you already know Houdini, then the first few steps will be familiar to you. If not, then please note that the asset is being built interactively without writing any scripts or code. Okay, let's get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a font tool here, and we're going to create some text. Let's call this Houdini. And we'll tumble around, just take a quick look at that text there. Now let's raise that text up. We're now going to go to the polygon shelf and we're going to poly extrude that text. Press enter to accept the text. We're going to push that out. Now by default it doesn't give you anything on the other end. So what we'll do is we'll go to the options and say output a back, and that will give us a back surface as well as the front. Now we're going to press A, and that will allow us to select all the geometry, and we're going to go tab F-U-S-E for fuse, and that fuses together all the points of the surface of the geometry so they're all connected. And then we're going to go tab and vertex, type vertex, and that's going to put down a node that's going to allow us to essentially cusp the normals at the edge. Let's put in a number there, about 80. And what that does is that allows us to have a nice flat text. We currently have, let's go to smooth shaded, so you can see how we've got, nice text the way that it's there. So now that we have that, what we'd like to do is shatter the text. So we want to be able to break it up into pieces. So we're going to again select everything, and then we're going to take the on the model shelf, we're going to use the shatter tool. This uses a Voronoi function to fracture the surface into a bunch of different points, and that breaks them up into little pieces. And you see it actually put a couple different nodes in here, and those nodes they show you how many pieces you have, so you can actually increase the number of pieces or decrease the number of pieces depending on what you want to do. So we can get a lot of pieces there if we want. So now at the end of this, we're going to add another node. Now we could do it in here. Again, select all, but actually what we're going to do instead is we're going to right click on here, type exploded. We're going to put down a node called the exploded view node. And what that does is that actually takes the broken pieces that we have and just sort of pushes them out from the surface. So 0 to 1, 0 to 1, and that gives us a little bit of control there. Now once we have some of this, these pieces sort of doing what they're doing there, we're going to go to the object here. We're going to select this node. We're going to lift it up into the air. Space, use the space bar to tumble around and do our space, our view tools. And now we've got that, we're going to go to the rigid body shelf where we're going to create an RBD fracture. This creates a dynamic network in here, and we're going to create a ground plane. And that ground plane we don't actually have to see, but it's there in spirit while we work. Go to the select tool, and what you'll see is if we press play, we have those pieces fall and hit the ground like that. Now, because Houdini is a procedural node-based solution, if I click here and we look at these networks, I can go back to the font, and everything that we did in the creation of this font all the way up, these things are all editable. So for instance, I can go back to the font and change what we typed there. I can change the how much we've exploded. I could change how much we've extruded, and all of that will reflow into the result, and then that can be affected by the dynamics. So everything, the sort of history of what we have, exists. Now what we'd like to do now is take this flow, this procedural network, and take advantage of it by compressing the networks together. So we're going to compress them together into a single subnet. We're going to call this fractured underscore text. And we're going to right click on there and create digital asset. And what that does is that allows me to store this on disk. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go desktop, engine asset, and go accept for there, and we're going to say fractured text. So this can be our fractured text asset in there. Now, once we've got this, what we can do is we can start to build a bit of an interface for this particular tool. If we go back here, fractured text already has these two nodes, but we don't actually want those, so we're going to select those and make them invisible. Select that and make it invisible. Now we're going to go in and we're going to grab some parameters from inside the node and actually promote them up. So in this case here, we're going to go back into here. Let's take the exploded view, that scale factor, we're going to put that there. But we're going to change its range from 0 to 1. And so let's call that explode and explode. Okay. Now, now we're going to go a little further up into here, and we're going to say what other things could we maybe do. And let's go to the font. Now in this case we want to bring this text over here, so we're going to right click on that and say export to type properties, and that'll actually promote this as well. So we're going to go text, text. Okay, so we've got that. And then if we wanted to, we could jump, let's say, one level up and maybe take the transform of this object and maybe just right click on that one field there and put that up there. And so go object height, object height. And then we're going to press accept. So what this means is if I jump back to the object level where I have this asset that we created, you'll notice that there are a number 3 parameters here. We have an explode parameter that allows us to basically go in and out the way we did before. We have the object height, which allows us to set where it is in relation to the ground. And we can go in and we can change this to, let's say, engine. And press tab. And now if we click into here, you'll see that that updates and recooks. And if we were to press the play button, you'll see that this actually now works with the dynamics. So not only have we got the ability to make changes within the network, but these changes can be wrapped up into a single node called the fractured text node with all the parameters that we need to put into production right here on the top. Now this asset is then saved on disk in that OTL file I showed earlier, and that can now be shared with other applications using the Houdini engine. So let's go take a look at it in Maya and Unity. So here we are in the Unity editor. Going to load the same digital asset using the OTL file that we created in Houdini. This comes in, and as you can see, all the parameters that we created before are here, and you can actually adjust them here in the Unity interface. So you can change the sort of explode parameter we had before. You can raise it up and down using the height. And then you can actually even change the text, and it will go down and recook that and fracture a new set of letters instead of the old set of letters. This can now be set up to press play, and you can see the dynamics in there as well. And because this is a game engine, that would need to be baked out, but essentially the same asset is now working in Unity. Now here we are in Maya, where the same asset is going to be loaded. The Houdini engine is working under the surface to allow all of this to work. This one again has the explode parameter and the various other parameters here that you can work with. You can go in and change the text just like we did before, and the procedural network will update, and all of this will, in addition to that new text being fractured, it will also be able to run through the bullet solver using the dynamics. So an asset that has a procedural geometry network, dynamics, all wrapped together has been shareable within these 3 applications, which is pretty exciting. Now, in addition to this asset we created, you can also go to the Orbolt website. Orbolt.com is a place where Houdini artists can upload assets they have and share it with the wider CG community. Again, traditionally these only opened in Houdini, but now with the Houdini engine they'll be openable in other applications as well. So here are some assets just quickly tested in Maya. and you can see how the parameters that were brought over can all be adjusted. Now in this case you'll see a parameter popping up, but things haven't been fully optimized, so things may not be as fast as one would hope. This is actually a fluid solver, again running. This is the experimental nature of the software as it is today. Things will be optimized as we move forward, and we look forward to people helping us test and explore that to get it to where it needs to be. Now here we have an asset which actually incorporates geometry, textures, animation, all built into a single asset, and this asset can be opened up, and here you can see different motions being applied, those motions all set up, and we can even change this guy into a zombie. That's all built into the asset, so this is pretty exciting. If you go to the Orbit website and download this asset, you actually build multiple characters with it as well. Now this is a Greebles asset. This allows you to do some pretty heavy procedural modeling very, very quickly and easily, taking a simple grid and converting it into a much more complex piece of geometry. Here we're making an edit to the number of pieces and getting a new piece of geometry right there. So I hope you're excited about what you've seen about Houdini Engine and the plugins that we have planned. If you're interested in registering for the plugins, be sure to go to labs.sidefx.com and register your name, and as soon as the plugins are available, we'll contact you and get you testing them.